Welcome to our team call for October 23rd. I actually have an amazing guest speaker on for us tonight, and when she is finished, if I have enough time, I'm going to share a few of my takeaways as I just came home from leadership this past week. So many things to share with you guys, and I feel like they have to be kind of disclosed in parts because there's just so much. It's too much to sum up in a half an hour of a call. Sarah and I actually met through a mom group. We met through Little Mamas, right?
Yeah, I was just telling, my husband was asking me, I'm like, I think I met her through Little Mamas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually a couple Little Mamas on here that you might not know.
Ah,
Stephanie and Rachel's a new Little Mama too.
hey.
Sarah actually joined me to try To Be Mindset out at some point last year. And we've been chatted a little bit about coaching, but she was telling me that she's more into kind of business strategy with coaching. So I've just been watching a lot of her live videos lately with such great content, so many awesome takeaways that are so applicable to what we do as coaches. So I asked her if she would hop on tonight and share some of her knowledge and wisdom with us. So I'm just going to try to quickly recap what you shared with me to explain what you do. But she's a business coach that helps entrepreneurs get consistent, high quality customers by helping you really niche down with your creative content and who you're marketing to. So in hopes to really save time and reach who you're trying to reach, rather than maybe spinning the wheels and just throwing things out there and hoping things stick, which I feel like content creation and social media is always something we are working to improve. So I'm super excited to have her share with us tonight. And if you want to add anything to that, you can go ahead. But this stage.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Thanks for hopping on.
I'll share my screen in a minute, but did you get the worksheets that I sent you, Dana?
I have not looked at my Facebook inbox, so if you sent
I actually emailed them too. I should have checked before the call.
And I didn't.
Okay, so you can send it out to the group after, because I'm going to go through some mistakes that people make in their messaging, and then afterwards I will have a worksheet for you all to work on your own, to kind of go through who your ideal client is and to basically craft a pitch that's very succinct about who you are, what you do, and who you're helping. But then, so this part of the call, I'll just kind of be walking through some mistakes that people make and then how to shift it a little bit so that your messaging can be really strong.
Perfect. I'm going to post it in our page now. That way, if people want to look at it as you cover stuff, they can.
Oh, you got it. Okay. I can share my screen. I think so. Is the best way to do it.
On the bottom, it should say share screen, and then you can open it to click on whatever screen it is you want to share.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you see, does it say like make your message memorable, impactful, and profitable? Okay. Is like the video in the way? Sorry, I'm like.
No, can you hear me? Yeah, I can see it. We can see it.
Okay, cool. So I just did this workshop this week and people took quite a bit out of it and they said it was helpful. And just to give a little bit more background on myself, I've been doing marketing for companies in New York for the past 14 years. And I started off in entrepreneurship a couple of years ago, and I made all of those mistakes that you can make in messaging that they tell you, not to make, basically, that I'm going to be going through here. And I always wish there was an easier way or like a simpler way to understand how to create a message that people really resonated with. And I think for you guys, it's really important to know who you're talking to and what problem you're solving for them. And I know that through Beachbody, you have sort of like, you have a lot of marketing materials that you have access to, but it's also about your personal journey. And I'm assuming that you also have to think about who your ideal clients are that you want to work with. So this is just kind of a good way to go through that process and try to think about how you want to position yourself and how you want to stand out and speak to those people that you really want to work with. And if you have any questions as I'm going through this, please feel free to raise your hand, or, if anything's confusing or hard to understand, like, this is not easy stuff necessarily, even though I try to make it as simple as possible. So, and for some reason I did this in a PDF, so it's not as nice as a PowerPoint, but you'll get the main gist of it. So can you see, like, I feel like the video's in the way. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but so you can see the screen.
You can change your view options. So I have mine fit to screen. So like the videos go across the top and I can see everything perfectly.
Okay.
So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the two biggest mistakes that people make in regards to their message to people. And so the first mistake is that people's message is just really too general. And so a lot of times people think like, oh, if so many people resonate with my message, then I have a bigger pool of people that I'm speaking to. But really what happens is if your message is very general, then it's not going to resonate with somebody, and it won't really compel them to want to buy with you, because they feel like it applies to everybody and it doesn't really apply to their specific problem. So just as an example, this could be like more like a life coach, but an example of a really general message would be, I help women who are stressed and overwhelmed de-stress and find peace. So for this, really, I mean, 99.9% of women could probably raise their hand and be like, I resonate with this message, right? Like, I am overwhelmed and I would like to de-stress and find peace. But at the same time, it's so general that everybody would feel like, yeah, but they don't really understand what I'm specifically going through. So a better way, or let me talk a little bit about why it's important to be specific. So the reason that it's important to be specific is you're trying to figure out what their trigger is. Basically, like, what is the thing that's causing them that stress and that overwhelm? You want to dig into, like, what are they specifically overwhelmed about, and then what specific outcome you provide. So a little bit better, so let's say that's the same person with the same message, would be, I help divorced women who feel like their world has been turned upside down find the confidence and peace to live a life better than they ever thought possible. So this is better because by saying, for example, women who are feeling a certain way after a separation, that's causing their stress and their overwhelm. And then the specific solution that you're providing is you're helping them find confidence and inner peace. And although that's like a general statement, the next statement right after it makes it very specific, because it's to live a life better than they ever thought possible. And so if you were a divorced woman or you were separated and you read something like this, you would probably feel like, oh, this person really gets me, because they probably don't believe that their life could be ever better than they ever thought possible. So this, getting more specific on how you help, like the solution that you're providing people, it allows people to identify and be like, they really understand me and they can really help me solve my specific problem. So the first mistake, is that pretty clear? Sorry, my video's over here. That's why I'm looking at two different screens. Is the first mistake and sort of like the better way to do it clear?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, that if you're like talking to everyone, you're also talking to no one.
No one. Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully I'm not like repeating everything that you guys already learned in a lot of your stuff.
Good.
So yeah, that's exactly true. And I think it's easier said than done, because you want to be able to say, like, I just want any client, I want anybody to work with me, especially when you're first starting out. But the more that you can drill down on that, the better. So the second mistake that people make a lot, and this one is a little bit of a trickier concept, is that they speak too much to the root problem, or what is considered like an underlying problem. And so that means basically what's actually causing the problem. And the way that I like to explain this is, let's say you have a stomach ache and you go to the doctor and you're like, okay, I have a stomach ache. That's the thing that comes up in your mind of the reason that you need to call the doctor, right? So you go to the doctor and the doctor is going to try to find the underlying problem that you have that's causing your stomach ache. So they might say, like, what is your lifestyle like? Are you stressed? They're going to try to find out these things that are causing it. The thing is that somebody may or may not be aware of all these other things that are the root of their problem, like they might not realize that drinking a bottle of wine a night is contributing to their stomach ache, and they're like, oh, right. So the point is, if you're speaking to these things that they may or may not be aware of, they're not going to resonate with your message, because they're like, no, my problem isn't the bottle of wine I'm drinking every night. The problem is I have a stomach ache and I need a solution for my stomach ache. So like another example of this for me is if I look at a potential client or somebody that I might be working with, I might say like, oh, well, their problem is that they don't have consistent enough marketing. Their message isn't succinct enough. But their problem for them that's coming up that would cause them to want to work with me is they're like, I don't have enough clients. I need to pay my bills. And I'd be like, okay, so if I speak to the fact that I help people find clients and help them make more money, they're like, cool, I want to work with you. So I'll give you some examples, and these are health related. So I think they'll resonate a lot more with you guys. So this is the mistake part. So as an example of a wellness coach, the root problems or the underlying problems for your clients are probably that they have an unhealthy relationship with food, they don't know what a nutritious meal looks like, and they don't exercise. You probably could think of a lot of other things here, but these are just some examples of, you know, some underlying issues that somebody might have. So if your messaging focused on the root problem, it would sound something like, I help people who have an unhealthy relationship with food, who have no idea what a nutritious meal looks like, and who never exercise get healthy. And so the problem with this message is that it's just really boring. Like, it's not very appealing. It's not something that people will be like, cool, I really want that. I really need that in my life. Like, can you kind of see how it's just not that compelling? So if you then start to look at, instead of the root problem, if you look at how that problem ripples out into their everyday life, it probably is more like this person doesn't like dressing up in fancy clothes because nothing fits them. So they don't want to go to weddings or dinners or fancy events. It might be that they don't want to be in a bathing suit in public, or they always have low energy, or they're tired, or they don't want to go shopping because nothing fits. And again, like, I'm sure you guys have a lot of other things that you could think of, but like, if you sit down and think about how, for your ideal client, how their problem ripples out in their everyday life, those are the things that when you talk about those things, they'll be like, their ears will perk up and they'll be like, oh, she gets me. She knows how to solve my problem. This is what's really an issue for me, instead of, you know, what you guys know to be the issues, because you're the experts. So you're like, I know what the issues are for this person, but they're like, no, I just really need somebody to help me because I have this wedding coming up and I need to, you know, fit in this size dress or whatever it is. And it's not that you can't talk about those other things. That's totally not the case. It's just that if you're leading with all those other things, people might say like, that's not really my problem. No, I know what a nutritious meal looks like. You know, I can just exercise. I can do that on my own. But if you appeal to these things, like how it's rippling out in their everyday life, they'll be much more likely to say like, oh, you're the person that can help me. So if you were to change your messaging a bit, I'm just going to go to this part. So, like a way that you would talk to your clients in this case, in a better scenario, would be to say stuff like, does the idea of going to the beach stress you out because you hate to wear a bathing suit in public? Do you have a special event that's causing you anxiety because you don't have anything that looks good on you? Or are you constantly tired? Do you have low energy? Do you feel like you're operating at less than 50%? Like, all these things are things that are coming up for them in their day-to-day life that would trigger them to say, I would like to have somebody help me with this. And then there's just like a way, this is more a one-liner that you could say, like, I help people who are tired of avoiding life events for fear of how they will look or feel. I teach them how to make healthier choices so they can feel confident in any setting and have more energy to enjoy the things that matter most. So you can see it's just like a little more compelling of how you speak to your ideal client. Okay. So actually, Dana, do you have the worksheet? I actually didn't pull it up. Would you be able to share that on your screen?
Yep.
So I'm going to let you switch over to the worksheet and I'll walk everybody through it so that you can do it on your own time. But before I do, I just wanted to say that if you wanted more tips after this, I just put my handles here for Instagram and Facebook. So I'd love to see you guys and keep chatting about this topic. But
definitely follow her on Facebook because she does lives all the time. Usually I catch them when I'm driving and they're awesome.
Oh, careful when you're driving.
I have a magnet. Safe.
Oh,
so I'm
nice.
just listening, you know.
Good.
If you want to end your screen share, then I can open mine, I think.
Yeah, and then I'll just talk through the worksheets. I was gonna maybe do them on the call, but I think Dana's got some other things to show you guys, so I'll walk through them, and then after the call, then you guys can just do them on your own. And if you have any questions, you know, just feel free to let me know. Like, ping me. I like chatting about this stuff.
Okay, perfect. Screen share.
Okay. So the exercise that you guys can go through, now that you know some of the bigger mistakes, it'll be easier to like just write a quick pitch. So what you're going to want to do is write down your ideal client. And you may have done a lot of this work already, but you just like, here's some descriptors that you can use: male, female, what profession they have, where they're located, their age range, if they have kids, what their household income is, really like whatever is the most relevant for your product or service. The more detailed that you can be, the better when you're writing about your ideal client. Things like, where do they get their information from? Where do they go online? You know, is it word of mouth? Or, you know, even if you can interview some of your like clients that you've worked with in the past or that you consider to be an ideal client, I highly recommend that you spend a lot of time even outside of this worksheet, really understanding your ideal client. And you can base it on someone that you've worked with in the past, but it's a fictitious person. So it doesn't need to be, you know, 100% like, this is, you know, you don't like, here's Dana exactly. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. You can use bits of Dana and bits of Alicia and bits of Kelly and be like, okay, this is the ideal person that I would like to work with. And then the next thing that you want to write out are the day-to-day struggles that they have as it pertains to your service. So for number 2, this again is how it ripples out in their day-to-day life. What types of things are coming up for them that they would say, like, I really could use help. And so again, it's not necessarily the underlying issues that they have. It's more like what's happening in their life on a day-to-day basis. A lot of times in marketing, we use the phrase like, what's keeping them up at night. That's another way to look at it. And one other thing for number 2, if the word like problem or struggle feels really negative to you, you don't have to have it be a negative thing. You could also have like, what's the thing that they ultimately want? Like, what's this big vision for their life that they really want? That could be another way of figuring that part out. So because some people feel like it's not always a problem, it's just something that they would really love to have. And so that is applicable in that section as well. And then if you want to scroll down, number 3 is, what result does your product or service offer? So here I would just recommend use language that like a 7-year-old would understand. Just look at their day-to-day struggles. And then if you say like, my struggle is that I want to wear, you know, a bathing suit in public, then like your result is, I help you like gain more confidence and be able to, you know, wear whatever you want at any occasion and feel good about yourself. So like, that's the result that you offer. So then you write out all the results in that section. And then number 4 is you write out, basically it's a few ways of phrasing this, but why is it so important? Why do they really want this? How will their lives change positively after buying or using your product or service? So this one is really like for myself, for example, my pitch is all about, I help people make more money so that they can have more time and energy for the things that really matter to them in their life. So like for you guys, it would be, they get all these things that you're offering them, and then what is that they ultimately get in their life? That like that confidence, I don't know, you guys know better than me, but like how their lives will positively change after they work with you. And then the last part is, so this is basically how you would craft a 2-sentence pitch. And then once you have nailed this, there are ways of expanding upon it and building it out even more. But once you have something that you feel really confidently explains who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and the impact that you make, then basically your entire story comes from that. Everything that you post about comes from that. You basically like take it and run with that. And then you have this consistent story about everything that you offer and who you do it for. So I know it seems really simple here on paper, but once you figure this out, it can change basically how you communicate about yourself. And I recommend starting with this template. So you basically do like I help or I work with, and then you put your ideal client and then who are, and then the problem is stuff like they're struggling with XYZ. So you just take it from the notes, the page before, and you insert it. Just the most important things. You could have like who are struggling with, and you could put 3 different problems or, you know, whatever you think is the most relevant. And then I help them, and then that's the result. So they can, and then the emotional driver is basically the last section that you wrote about is like how their life will change positively from working with you. So obviously you can't fit everything into a 2-liner. So basically your job is to figure out the most important things for you and who you really want to work with and what problem you really want to solve, and then make that specific to you. Because I know you guys are all, I think, selling the same things, but you all are very different people and you all have something different to offer. So you want to really dig deep and think beyond just like trying to be everybody else. Like, who are you and what do you really bring to the situation that will, you know, make a difference or be different from how everyone else is doing it. So you kind of want to find your own little space, and only you can really decide that. Right?
I have a question for you with this.
Yeah, please.
So is it like I look at this and I think that there are so many different problems, and maybe this is just me because I have such a multifaceted story, but also with what we do as coaches, like we have the component where we help people with fitness, nutrition, you know, mindset, self-love, goals, consistency, accountability, all that kind of stuff. But then on the flip side, you have coaching, which is helping people create more, you know, financial freedom, having more purpose in their lives, doing something from home, you know, in the gaps of their schedule, whatever. Is it fine to kind of, once you figure out who that person is, create a handful of pitches like that help you kind of gear down your content?
Yeah, that's
Curious.
a great question. So first of all, I'm going to go back to the ideal client part. I recommend that when you're crafting your pitch, you start with one person in mind, like your main person, which I'm assuming will be like not the coaching. I don't know, but I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
So start with one, but as an entrepreneur or a business or anybody, you can have up to 3 ideal clients, I would say. I would never have more than 3. So maybe for you, it's 2. And usually, if you feel like 2 of your ideal clients, or, you know, maybe client isn't the right word, but like audience members are very different, and you feel like you need 2 separate messages, usually it is a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a minor adjustment to your core 2-liner,
Okay.
usually. Because like you'll write out who you are, what you do, how you help people, and then so like I would recommend going through the whole process with one person in mind, and then when you're done with that, go back and be like, okay, now as a coach, what would I change here? And then you might find that either you can have a similar message or you're just tweaking a few things. And maybe not, I don't know. You should share with me what you come up with that, because that's kind of an interesting one, because it's like 2 very different audiences. So I'd be interested to see. But sometimes people do have 2. But I just recommend that you start with your main one, because it might not be as different as you think.
Right.
Does
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Yeah. They do. I mean, they do essentially overlap in some facet. But yeah.
Yeah, usually they do. So yeah, you should send me what you write, because I just love this stuff.
Like I
And
could
I'll
probably
give
come up
you,
with like 10 pitches is probably my problem.
yeah, one per ideal client at the most. And oh, there was one other thing I was going to say about it. Now I lost it, but oh, just that the template helps when you're starting out and you like just don't really know what to, like how to craft a pitch. But sometimes like mine doesn't follow this template exactly. So you don't have to stay with it 100%. Like, you can change it up, but just like, so the main components are part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And usually 2 sentences are helpful to get the full message across. But then like sometimes if you only have a minute to talk about who you are and what you do, you just use the first sentence.
Right. Gotcha.
Any other questions
Questions?
about that? Is this stuff that you already go through in your training?
We do talk about a lot of this stuff. One of the things I'm going to share from leadership is in regards to kind of similar. Well, I'll open it right now since I'm on my screen, but this is something a girl I work with shared with us, like what you're talking about your ideal client, like creating an avatar.
Oh, awesome. Yes, this is perfect.
So like the goals, interests, what she Googles, what she watches on YouTube, what she spends her money on, what are her values, her objections, her pain points, that kind of stuff, to use as a reference for creating content from. But
Yeah.
I think your part here, which like you can have this, but if you don't have the pitch of who you're pitching to, doesn't really matter, because you could talk about all of these different facets, but if you don't know what their problem is and how you can solve it for them, then it doesn't really do you any good, because then it's just kind of like journaling your life story, basically,
Right. Yes, I think a lot. So your content then becomes things like, what are the problems that come up for your clients? Like, what are the things that they're asking you? A lot of posting about your why is great, but it should be a mix of like showing your value and like how you help people. And so this can kind of outline that for you, a little bit better. And this is, I was given 30 minutes, so this is just the tip of the iceberg. I do a lot more with, going further in depth with this stuff. And like I said, I'll be doing a lot of videos that will expand upon this. So
you're always welcome to come back.
So next Wednesday, I'll go now.
Yeah, I would love to have you on another night to go more in depth. Do you also talk about like content creation from this? Like once you kind of have that marketing, and then you talk about the content creation of it?
Yes. Yep. That's a part of it. I think that might be my video tomorrow. Yeah.
And I do have, I guess one question I can add to this for you is like, I'm curious to hear your opinion on it, but the saying of the same like story, same sentiment over and over and over, like you obviously suggest that because that's a specific person you're talking to, so you can't really talk about it enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think people in general, myself included, feel more subconscious or self-conscious, about, oh my gosh, I keep sharing the same thing, and is this going to resonate? But the truth is, like, most people, first of all, I know I've read things twice, and both times I'm like, that's really interesting. And then I'm like, I think I read that before, but I'm still interested by it. So I think like we're more self-conscious about the fact that we're putting out the same kinds of messages, but then people really like, we give people too much credit, because we're just all like have a million things going through our brains, and we see things all the time. And like, I know I've read similar stories of yours, Dana, and every time I read them, I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe that. I'm like, I know I already read that whole story, but I'm still interested in it.
That's why I asked, because I feel like you could say the same story in a different way a million times, and you're like, do people still enjoy reading this? Like,
yeah,
are they still gonna resonate with it? Yeah.
Well, one thing that people don't get tired of hearing is about themselves. And so, sprinkling in things about their own problems and like identifying with them, and things with questions that they might ask or things that they might feel too, is helpful to mix that in. But like a lot of your stuff, Dana, I think you're really good at it, is like you relate to people. So like you tell your story, but then you flip it to like, you know, if you feel this way, and like you're identifying with your client, your ideal client as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. I better let you finish your part.
Does anybody have questions for Sarah
Yeah.
while we're here? This is an ongoing topic for us, so we'll definitely
It's
have you
not
come
easy.
It's an
Yeah,
important topic.
yeah, if anyone has any questions as they're going through the worksheet or anything, feel free to ping me, send me a message.
Perfect.
Cool. All right.
Well, thanks so much for hopping on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, nice to see you. Nice to meet everybody.
And I will definitely send you my worksheet when I'm done with it.
Yes. Awesome.
My homework.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. All right. Was that helpful for you guys? I mean, some of it's stuff we've talked about before, but I feel like you can never hear it too often. Okay, so I am coming off of leadership from last week, which, if you guys don't know, is an event that is hosted once a year for 5-star and above coaches. This was my 4th leadership, and it's crazy. There was only 508 coaches out of the entire company that went, and it's one of those events that I always kind of feel like I'm like, do I belong here? Like I'm in this room and with all these like crazy successful coaches. But at the same time, like what it reminds me of to share with you guys is that any coach can get to that event if you really have that fire inside you to earn it. I posted something in the team page, I think it was yesterday, about just really wanting to bring that fire back with this team and like help those of you that really want to step up in your businesses and grow with me about New Leadership Conference, because the qualification for that is coming up November 21st. I posted the FAQ in there for you to read over it if you want to go to it. When I earned New Leadership Conference, you had to be a 2-star diamond. Right now, you only have to be a 1-star diamond with a certain number of elite points. So it is absolutely something that is within reach for any of you, whether you're a brand new coach or you're like sitting on the verge of diamond or you're a fallen diamond or you're kind of anywhere in the realm of that. If you focus and you push for it, it's totally possible. And that event was truly a game changer for me in terms of seeing my like ability expand as a leader, because I knew like nothing about planning months or like how to run specific things. And New Leadership, you get to go and be surrounded by typically around, Kelly, what would you say there was like 400 when you went to? Because Kelly Riley earned this as well.
Yeah, probably about then.
But like maybe 400 coaches that earn something like New Leadership Conference. You get to go view corporate headquarters. You get to hear incredible speakers on like basic, level leadership trainings. And you come home just fired up, really like feeling like you have more strategy to implement in your business to really take it to the next level. So for those of you that want to work on doing that, I'm going to be posting my call schedule to schedule a call with you. But I would love if there's a handful of you that want to push for that together, that we could kind of come together for Masterminds, if it works, once a week, to really rally for that to close out the year. I had there were so many incredible speakers at Leadership. There always are, that it would, like I said, it would be literally impossible for me to recap everything for you, but just know that I'm going to be kind of rolling out some of the concepts that we learned in terms of getting new coaches started right, running successful challenge groups, just different kind of components that were broken down that are really going to help us grow through the end of the year and into 2020. But I wanted to quickly go over a few things that were most impactful for me, because I just want to share those things with you, and I want to share that fire with you. And I wish that I could just kind of zoom you all in at events like that, because they are so powerful. Elizabeth Harkey, actually, and I streamed it into the Difference Maker Movement team page. She gave a speech all about vision, and if you guys didn't get a chance to go watch that, I would highly recommend that you take an hour out of your week at some point and go watch her speech. She was able to really kind of talk about how her life right now as it is, and all she's built in the home they live in, and the retreat she hosted for us in Wisconsin last month, all of that was just once something like a vision of hers. Like, she didn't have a team when she started, just brand new, just like all of us start out and have this vision for what we want to create in this business, and how important that really is. And so if you didn't see it in the team page yesterday, we had actually, a few of us had posted in our Star Diamond page that clarity of vision moving forward is something we needed to dig deeper into, because if you've been in this business for a while, you change, your business changes, your life changes, your vision changes, and it's important to constantly be kind of digging back into that and having more clarity of that, because that is the fire that drives everything else. So if you missed it, I posted a file in the team page yesterday, and I can post it in Aspire Nation too, but I have it printed out right here. It's from Liz's podcast, but it's a future forecast formula. So it asks you like what picture your ideal day, and ask yourself these questions. What do I do? How do I feel? What do I see? What do I hear? Who do I serve? How do I spend my free time? How much time do I take off? How much do I earn? How many days do I work? And it really digs deeper into helping you feel more clarity on that vision, because how many of you can relate to sitting down to your business at the beginning of the month and just thinking, okay, my goal right now is hitting Success Club 10. And you don't really think much more future focused beyond that, right? And when we get in that space where we're just focusing on the 1 month in front of us, a lot of times there's not really that fire under our ass to be like, I know that this one little goal that I'm pushing for this month is bringing me towards something so much bigger and so much greater. And it's so easy to lose sight of why you're fighting for goals if we don't have clarity of that bigger vision. So I want to draw a line in the sand and say that before we proceed any further with anything we do in our businesses, to encourage you to do that exercise, and then to go ahead and, once you have that mapped out, create a vision board that you can hang in your office. I created one a few months ago, but it's something I want to update because I feel like things have changed even since I made it, of what your ideal life really looks like and how this business is the vehicle for you to achieve that. So I wanted to just kind of prompt you with the question of, if your life could look however you want it to a year from now or 5 years from now, what would that look like for you, and how can this business be the vehicle to get you there? Because I promise all of us are going to start showing up in an entirely different way when we have clarity of what that vision looks like, rather than just, I want to hit Success Club this month, I want to be a diamond coach, whatever it is. Because how many times have you set goals from that type of mindset without the long-term vision, and then you find yourself 3-6 months from now not anywhere close to it? Everyone should have their hand raised. Okay, so that's first and foremost is the vision component, watching that call, doing that exercise. I just screen shared a clip of it, but I want to just kind of share the concept of this behind you with it, is that we, on the second day of leadership, have like breakout masterminds where we get put at a table with a bunch of other leaders, and we're just, we're given like a calendar of the rest of the year and what the launches are up and coming. It looks like this. I can share it in the team page if you guys want to see it. But it's an exercise meant to share like the 2019-2020 calendar, and then brainstorm ideas with other leaders about how you can create hype around launches, what kind of groups you're going to run around them, kind of filling in the gaps when there are not launches, what you can kind of be plugging into those spots. For example, like 3-day refresh groups, things like that, to always have something exciting to be inviting to and engaged in. And then we sit down, we kind of brainstorm some of our best practices around leveraging launches and promotions, effective onboarding strategies for new coaches, ways that you can generate volume, top social media strategies. So one of the things that we talked about when it comes to social media strategy, which is something I need to seriously up my game with. So this was like stuck out to me so greatly. Kelsey Smith was at my table. I don't know if you know Kelsey Smith or not. She's a great friend of mine, but she is like killing it on social media. And she was sharing with us that she created just kind of like the thing Sarah was covering here tonight, of creating her ideal customer and her avatar. And I know that you guys have heard us talk about branding and avatars like 7,000 times, but this stuck out to me because it is so different than anything I've ever seen before, in terms of how broken down it is. So I'm going to screen share again real quick and show you this. And I have the blank, like a copy of the template if you wanted to make your own. But here, she kind of has like what her mission is on the first page and who her ideal client is. Like she's between 22 and 35. Her friends describe her as funny and inspiring. She dresses casual, mostly in t-shirts, shorts, plain dresses, workout clothes. So she kind of goes through what her ideal client's life looks like. And then she has it broken down into sections of goals, interests, what they Google, what they YouTube, what they're spending their money on, what their values are, what their objections were like before they got started, their pain points, things she's tried, what they're excited about, who they follow, just like Sarah was just sharing with us. But this is what I thought was so cool about this, because I've never heard someone explain this in this fashion. And this is something that I admit I am not great about, is like covering all the bases of who you're wanting to reach and who you're talking to. And I don't know if you guys can relate, but like sometimes you ever feel like you get in a rut of like sharing the same story or sharing the same thing in regards to like your fitness or coaching or whatever. And you're like, I need something new and fresh to talk about or to post about. So what she said she does at the beginning of every single month, she sits down with this ideal avatar that she's made, and I printed it out because I'm going to sit down and go over it to make my own, is that she sits down with this at the beginning of every single month, and she picks 30 things that she's going to talk about that month, like 30 posts that she's going to make in regards to her ideal customer avatar, right? So maybe she'll pick, a few from her interest category, a few from her values, a few from what she Googles. This way, it's not always like fitness, nutrition, coaching, motherhood, whatever, which, like I said, I get in the rut of doing that. But picking 30 different things that your avatar is going to resonate with, to speak to, and then aligning them with what you are inviting to. So, for example, if you're inviting to a challenge group, you might put some posts or pick some content from that avatar that specific week about what objections she had. Maybe you're going to make a post about overcoming an objection. Maybe you're going to make a post about the fact that she thought protein shakes were bogus and that she doesn't believe in drinking her food, right? Maybe you're going to put something out there about what she used to Google before she actually found this. Like, what did she used to Google before she found a coach and Beachbody, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Like having the concept of the avatar of all the interests and then picking 30 things a month in regards to that to create content around, like that just like blew my mind when she said. I was like, that is so genius, to make sure that you're really talking to all the different facets of the person you're trying to talk to and connecting the dots back to, like Sarah was talking about, the pain points, the struggles, whatever it is that we're actually wanting to help people find the solution to, because that's how you're gonna find people that know, like, and trust you, but that are actually your people, because you're talking about all of the different things that connect to them. So I will post that in the team page as well. And if you guys wanted to, we could do a team call, like breakdown of once we all kind of create ours, and then talk about the process of taking those topics and creating content from them. And I think Mary Paige, you'd be like great to talk about that because you're awesome at it. Okay. Another speech that I just wanted to quickly mention to you guys that I thought was super helpful was from Holly Hillier. And if you don't know, she's a top 10 coach. You should really follow her on Instagram just to see how simply she talks about coaching literally almost every single day. And depending on who you are looking to connect with, she is very specific in the fact and like very unapologetic about the fact that she wants to find women that want to build successful six-figure businesses. She doesn't speak to someone who is looking to, you know, build a part-time income alongside their full-time job. So I just want to preface it with that, is it like with this concept, you really have to know like who your niche tribe of who you're looking to share coaching with, depending on what your story is or what you're looking to build, right? Because if you're only ever looking to have this as a part-time income alongside your full-time job, you're not necessarily going to say that you're looking for people that want to build six-figure businesses, right? And be full-time coaches. But she said that one of the biggest game changers in her business was when she 10x'd how often she was talking about coaching. And like I said, if you go to her Instagram, it's not always these like long drawn out posts about all the ways coaching has changed her life or like her team or her travels or whatever. Like it might be 2 lines about how she was hopping on a webinar this morning, or she had one-on-one calls, and then she went back to snuggling her baby and how much that changed her life, right? Something like that. Like it's a lot of times it's super short and sweet, but just really thinking about how frequently we're sharing about coaching and how much that really matters, rather than, I think sometimes we get in the rut of thinking we really only talk about coaching if we're inviting to something, like if we have a sneak peek up and coming, and then all of a sudden it's like, where are the team pictures from Summit? I need to post about my sneak peek, right? But working to more organically share coaching more frequently in your posts. And she talked a lot about the avatar thing as well that we just kind of went over, but what brands do they consume? What brands do they buy for their families? What social media accounts do they follow, and where can you find this avatar? So she gave an example about like a baby swing that she uses, and how she follows that account specifically because she knows that only new moms, which she is a newer mom, are going to be following an account like that, and then finding her ideal customers from that specific social media account. So we've kind of talked about that, like following accounts that you like and resonate with on social media, but thinking more in terms of finding social media accounts that your ideal customer would be following. Does that make sense? And networking from there. And then she just does the 3-1-1 method. So she likes 3 photos, she comments on a photo, and then she follows back. And if they have stories, to comment on those. But she talks about coaching daily, and in her stories, this was something that I thought was so cool because, again, I've never heard anybody say it like this. But speaking to your vision in your stories of why you are building this business. So she gave an example of the fact that you know, her husband grew up with a lake house, and that's something that they would really love to have for their boys. And she showed a clip of her Instagram story of how she was like, we're, you know, part of one of my goals right now for continuing to grow my coaching business is to be able to buy a lake home for my family. And then ask a question like, how many of you moms out there dream really big for your family, with a poll of like, yes, I dream big, hell yeah, or no, not really my thing, you know? Just looking to connect to women that are dreamers, that are go-getters, but also publicly sharing what her goals, what goals she's fighting towards and what that's bringing her for her family. And I thought that was super cool to like be vulnerable and share that. Like if you're building this to have income to, you know, travel with your family more or pay off debt, like those types of things are something that someone following you is going to say, like, not just like and it's funny, she gave an example. She's like, how many of you guys do like a boomerang of a team call and all people see is a screen full of like women's faces and they're like, cool, like I don't know what the hell it is or what they're doing or what they're talking about, right? But I was like laughing because I was like, we do that every single Wednesday. But she was like, but talking about what it is you're actually doing when you're on these calls and why you're actually showing up on them. Like, why do you get on team calls? What do you come to learn for? Like, what are you pushing to grow in your own life? that makes you show up on these things, because that's what's going to connect to people. People are not going to connect to a picture of a Zoom chat, as cute as it is and as important it is for us to share like our community vibe. It doesn't necessarily give people an idea of what they could build for their own lives if they were to join you. Does that make sense? And the 4 prompts that she gave us to talk about in terms of coaching was past, present. So like present being like, why are you on this team call right now? The future, and then objections. So the future, she was talking about like where she's going. Like she talks about where she's going all of the time, where she's going, what she's building. And then objections that she's getting, she talks about those in her stories as well. But she said to paint the vision and share that. Kelly. I'm like echo. Did you have something to say?
I just switched off my phone because my computer wouldn't connect before, and I logged onto this, and I didn't realize No, I had nothing to say. Shocking.
So shocking. You must not be drinking champagne tonight.
Not yet.
Okay. One more thing I'm going to cover, and then I wanted to share with you guys that I'm going to do another call one night because I got the PDF from him, from Kim Carver, but he talked about the thrips that can happen in our businesses, meaning like he gave an example of the roses in his garden and how they had these like little bugs all over them, right? And before you know it, the roses have turned into like brown dying flowers. And he was saying that there are so many thrips in this business that can sabotage a successful business, right? So the 7 things that can undermine successful business and it's things from like distractions, rationalizing, harboring defense mechanisms. So I want to do a whole separate call on that because I think it's super helpful. But since we're like short on time, the last thing that I wanted to just kind of share with you guys is they went over the qualities of top coaches, like of all of the people in corporate kind of came together looking at all of the top coaches in the company and what are qualities that they all have in common. So these are obviously important qualities to have that we can all be working on, right? So qualities of top coaches: they are confident in their self, in the product, in the company, in the compensation plan, and in their vision. They are not perfect, so they share real life, real struggles, real stories, embrace their life journey, and share the journey to be relatable. They are consistent. They are coachable, so they show up always looking for what's going to make them better. And I think that's a huge one because it's something that's so relevant, like literally all of the time in everything that we do as coaches. Being coachable and open to trying new things, doing things different ways. Being creative in how they market and share things on social media, which goes along with like the avatar and the branding we're talking about. Having fun. They are genuine, and you own what you love that makes you you. So like they're unapologetic about who they are and what they're about. And I just wanted to share those with you guys. I know, not like super crazy impactful, but I thought it was a good thing to think about. Like I said, I have just, oh my gosh, pages and pages of notes. We had a guy who was a high performance coach speak with us, who was literally riding around on a unicycle, like juggling at the same time, who was talking about if you limit yourself to what's comfortable, you deny yourself of what's possible. When you add something new into your life, you have to learn a new pattern. So don't protect your pattern if you want to transcend and achieve greater. And I thought that was so relevant to what we do as coaches, because if we're trying to develop new patterns in terms of like our journeys or our businesses, that we can't protect the pattern we currently have, or we're never going to be able to transcend that and achieve something greater. So he was awesome, but his whole speech was kind of about life balance, like hence the juggling act that he was doing at the same time. But like talking about relationships, work, health, spirit or your faith and your interests, and kind of how all of those have to be in a constant juggle for us to be living our highest quality of life and our best quality of life. And when something is kind of off balance and off kilter, that we are not able to perform at our highest rates. And gosh, there's so many things I could share with you guys. To make a mental note, and I posted this in the team page, November 1st is the Peppermint Mocha launch. We were told that they have the same amount as they had last year of pumpkin spice, so they're expecting it to sell out in a day. I got to try pumpkin spice at leadership, or Peppermint Mocha, and it was absolutely awesome. For those of you that asked, to me, it did not taste like a coffee flavor. It was just very like chocolatey, pepperminty, which is super fun and seasonal. I loved it. I can't wait to buy all of the boxes that I'm allowed to buy. I actually personally probably like it better than pumpkin spice when it comes to seasonal flavors. So just know that is coming November 1st. So I would say to talk about it now, to share it in your challenge groups, to reach out to your customers or your coaches, if you send emails, that type of thing. But let people know that it's going to sell out fast. So if they do want to hop in on that and grab some, that they need to be on top of it on November 1st. And for November, we got the word that all challenge packs are going to be $20 off. So that's a huge deal. I think we're also going to be working on partly like one of the things that I personally took away was how much I need to get back to planning my months, because when I strategically plan out everything in my month, my months run so much smoother. So I'm going to be working on kind of a marketing calendar overall to share with you guys. And if you want to partake in things, feel free to. And if you don't, you can do your own thing. But putting things on there, like a free group at the beginning of the month, challenge group, prep week, the second week, a challenge group start the third week, and then the fourth week being a coaching opportunity webinar, and then filling in the gaps and the cracks of things with, say, for example, a post-Thanksgiving 3-day refresh. 3-day refreshes are a great way to have a quick win and results in your business. They're a great way to get customers re-engaged if they've fallen off. They're a great way to get new people in the door if they're not exactly ready to commit to like a full-on program, but they indulged way too much on Thanksgiving and want to get started, right? So just looking for opportunities to bring more people in, but to really plan things out, because like I said, I know for me, when I'm very strategic about how I plan my months, they just run so much smoother. It's easier to invite to things. You always know what's up and coming. And can you plan a team one starting now? Do you mean a 3-day refresh group, Mayor Page? Yeah, we can start planning it now. I'm also considering doing a Black Friday flash sale for our team too, because I feel like flash sales are always fun. People are always spending money post Thanksgiving. It's a great time to kind of get people on track. Go ahead, Steph. Go to bed. Refresh brain.
Yeah, I think sorry to interrupt real quick, but I think the 3-day refresh would be a great idea, especially because you have to plan out getting it shipped and like having it in their hands. They're not going to get it during the holiday either. So having it so that they can start it either that Monday or whatever day we choose, like starts the group, because it would be really good, because I'm starting the ultimate reset and I'm finishing like right before Thanksgiving. So that way I can kind of like say, you don't want to do this 21-day thing.
Do this 3-day thing.
There you go. Yeah. But I do find that like, we have to like be really mindful about planning those things so that we get them.
They're definitely not something we can wing and be successful with as a team. Hence the gotta get the marketing calendar up and running.
Yes.
And I did want to share too, I got to try the bar workout. I did not do a moila because I am choosing not to do that because of my neck injury and just my healing. But I got to try the bar blend program, and you guys, like, I kind of went into it being like, I don't know if I'm really going to love this, or it's going to have too much of like a yoga feel, or it's just going to be too like frilly, because I like intense workouts, She's amazing. And the workouts, I am like obsessed. Like, I cannot wait till bar comes out, because it was like the perfect combination of super challenging, but what I loved was that it's such like a mental component too, where it's like affirmations like throughout the whole workout. Like she was like, I am positive, I am strong. Like when you're stretching, she's kind of talking to you about like releasing limiting beliefs and fears you have. So it's super like motivational and inspirational, but the workouts themselves, I actually like my legs were shaking because it was so challenging. The things she has you do, but it is also a low intensity program. So this is going to be perfect for like postpartum moms, for people that are just getting started on their journeys, for people that maybe have been dancers in the past, or for people like us that are typically always doing something high intensity and want to do something that they're still getting a really great challenge, but also kind of giving their bodies a break in terms of all like the jumping and the pounding and all that kind of stuff. If we're going to get a sample workout, I would assume so. I don't recall them sharing any of that in the FAQs about it, but I know they typically always put a sample workout for new programs, so I would guess that the answer is yes. It has a couple different launches. It goes on sale December 3rd, and then I think it launches I have to go back and look at my things, but it launches for customers the middle of the month. So my kind of plan was to have a group that starts like January 6th for the bar program. One of the other calls that I really want to share with you guys, but I think I'm going to plan for like a whole team call night, was by Kate Schultz, who's a top 10 coach. And she talked about making every single launch your own in terms of sharing your own, tying your own story into why you are specifically like connected to the program. I actually saw a post yesterday from a coach in Team Drop the Cookie that like did an incredible job of this, because she's a dancer, but like talking about how her dance background is like something why she's so excited about this bar program. But like I, for example, could even talk about like I used to be a synchronized swimmer, which is kind of dancing in the water. Like maybe this is partly like why I'm so drawn to this program. But whatever, like she talked a lot about making launches your own, like not just saying like this program is this many days a week and it's this many minutes and this is the moves, because people don't necessarily connect to that. But if you connect it back to something like one of these pain points or these struggles you've had and why you're so excited to take on this program, it gives it an entirely different, like elevated feel of why people want to join you for something like that. So I'm going to do a whole separate call on that kind of thing. Like I said, there's so many different, my head is still spinning. So many different things that I want to share with you guys, but yes. All right. Alicia just posted the FAQ in the comments. Thank you. Okay, so that is it. I know it's late. I don't want to keep you guys any later, but I just want to say, I feel like I'm so fired up again, and I'm just like, I am owning the energy that I come into our team with and planning out things in my business and really pushing full force, full forward. So I'm hoping that those of you that are ready to rock and roll and really do big things are ready to run with me. And I'm so excited to share more of what I learned with you kind of as time goes on. VIP early access. I can post all my, I took a ton of screenshots from our seminars that I can post in the team page with you. A lot of them wouldn't make sense unless I explained what it was with. But I do have the ones from the bar blend thing. So
can I add like a minute or so about the top 10 coaches you said?
Yeah.
Because I caught a glimpse of that, and that was really interesting to me. The one thing, I don't follow a ton of them. Holly Hillier definitely is one I follow. I love Christina Delgado, and like not necessarily she's a top 10, but like she's a top coach. And what I've noticed, even in their backstories where they retell, like when they were getting started, like Christina Delgado was a lawyer, working full time, working probably 60 hours a week, but like she worked her Beachbody business on the side still as a full-time business. Yeah. So if you have like big goals, vision, dreams, but you're also doing this on the side, like keep in mind that like it is going to take some work, but like they treated that as like this was a second job to them, and like they had to go all in. So I guess my point is like what I pick up from them is that like they show up to their business every single day as if it's their full-time job still, without, you know, like they treat it like a full-time business. They have to show up to the office every single day. So that's just kind of the 2 cents that I'm like, that's what I bring like from the top 10 or the top coaches in the network. It's like they treat it like a real business, not like a side.
Just like what would happen if you didn't show up to your full-time job?
Like if you didn't show up 5 days in a row to your full-time job, like they would probably be like, what the fuck?
Bye.
So yeah, it's so easy to say, like, give excuses of why you can't do something one night, and then that is just like your health and wellness journey, like that rolls into other things. So if you got big goals, big dreams, big visions, you've got to show up and do the work, even if it sucks in the beginning. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. So true. All right, ladies. Well, thanks for staying on with me late. I guess I'm not taking a boomerang tonight. I just about died when she said that. I was like, that makes so much sense. These people are like, who are these chicks hanging out on a video chat? Not to say that we're going to retire boomerangs forever, but all right, ladies, I hope something was helpful tonight, and I look forward to sharing more with you. We'll see you next week. Bye.